Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at the 5th grade striking assessment of using proper grip and form to strike a ball consistently with a long-handled implement. Hopefully watching this video will answer any questions that you have about the scoring or how we're going to run our assessment. In this next slide you can see the rubric that all the Needham PE elementary teachers use to score this assessment. We keep it a little bit general because depending on the school that they're at and the equipment that they have, they might be using a field hockey stick, a floor hockey stick, or maybe even a bat. Please take a second to look at each scoring of this rubric, and what I want you to pay attention to is where I put bolded, underlined, and italicized text because we're going to go back to those words in a little bit, and those are really the things that separate one score from the next. Please feel free to pause this video just so you can give yourself enough time to read each part of the scoring rubric. On this next slide, I'm going to go a little bit more in detail with what we're talking about with grip and also form, since we're going to be using a field hockey stick, and what we use for a field hockey stick is a little bit different than, let's say, what we do for a bat. So the first thing I want you to pay attention to is that I've got a different grip. Our control hand in field hockey is our top hand, and I drop that down closer to the blade hand. The next thing I want you to pay attention to as I start to hit play is while I'm going and hitting this rebounding ball, I'm keeping my eye on the target all the time, and then also when I'm working, I have a push-pull action of those two hands and I follow through towards my target. So let me play it and I'll point those things out as it's going. So as I'm rebounding, I'm always watching the ball coming in. Also take a look at my hands. My bottom hand is doing a push while my top hand is doing a pull, and I'm always following through towards my target. The score that you receive on this benchmark will depend on the consistency of your form and also your ability to contact the ball. 4 is a score that I don't give out very often, which would mean that you have perfect form and you're perfectly making contact every single time. Number 3 is something I give out the most, and it's a great score, which means that usually you're showing all or most of the cues, and most of the time you're making contact with the ball, so more than half. 2 would be occasionally, and that would just mean that you're maybe showing less cues, or maybe less than half of the time you're showing the cues, and also less than half of the time you're making contact with the ball. And a 1 would mean that you rarely or never are making contact with the ball or showing correct form. That's a score I rarely give out. Before we go today, I want to make one thing clear. As you notice Mr. Martin's video, you'll notice that once he gets the ball going, he's striking a rebounding ball, so he's moving all over the place to move to that ball. In our assessment, we will not be hitting a rebounding ball. We will be receiving a roll from a partner, and that roll will be to the stick side, so it's going to make it a greater opportunity for success in your assessment. You're all going to do great, and I'll see you next time.